Welcome, everyone, to Vintage Noise. This is the channel where we really get into the details, those specific moments that fundamentally shaped the cars we love.
And today we are going right back. Right back to the beginning for Porsche as a car maker. We're talking about the 3562 Gmünd Coupe, built between 1948 and 1951.
Yeah, our mission today is to take you inside those famous wooden barracks in post-war Austria. We want to explore the specific choices, the compromises, everything that allowed this car to go from that one-off mid-engined #1 prototype.
Right, the famous #1.
To become the very first series-produced Porsche sports car. It's really the ultimate birth certificate, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And what's so crucial to grasp right from the start is that this wasn't just, about cool design ideas back then. It was about pure industrial survival.
Survival.
Yeah, the 3562 was basically forged in the fire of post-war scarcity.
Yeah.
They took everything they learned, all the hard lessons from the prototype, but they were battling just unbelievable conditions just to find aluminum, let alone build a reliable engine.
Yeah. Okay, so let's unpack that transition. The first big decision to make it production ready. The original 356 #1, that prototype, was mid-engined, pretty exotic for the time. But for the Gmünd car, they changed that.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Big time. They moved the engine completely, put it behind the rear wheels. So basically, they went back to the original Volkswagen layout that Professor Porsche had designed years before.
That sounds like a huge compromise, though, from a handling perspective, I mean. You're putting all that weight way out back. Why make that trade-off?
Well, necessity. It really came down to practicality and making it easier and cheaper to build. See, by moving the engine back there,
Right.
it freed up that space right behind the driver. And that meant for the first time you could actually fit some luggage. And they squeezed in some tiny occasional use rear seats.
Ah, okay. So it made it a more usable car day to day. That makes sense if you want to actually sell them.
Exactly. That was critical for sales. And interestingly, even with moving the engine back and adding that space, the final 3562 was actually a little bit shorter than the mid-engine prototype.
Shorter. Okay. Now, beyond the engine layout, the actual structure changed fundamentally too, didn't it? They ditched that complex tubular steel frame from the prototype.
Correct. That original frame was, almost race car stuff, very complex, expensive to make one by one, needed specialist skills, not practical for series production, especially then. So they replaced it with a unitary steel tub design.
Okay, explain that for folks listening. What's the difference? Unitary tub versus a separate frame.
It's really the core difference between building a race car and building a production car. With the 3562's unitary tub, the body is the chassis. It's all one structure.
Right.
Basically a box frame, but it had these really deep, strong sills along the sides that carried the load, and the suspension points were built right into it.
Right.
Much, much simpler to construct. More rigid, too, actually. And crucially, faster and cheaper to make, even in small numbers with, let's say, less advanced equipment.
Speaking of less advanced equipment,
Yeah.
let's talk about where these were built. Gmünd, Austria. The stories about the production setup there sound almost unbelievable.
Oh, they are. It was primitive, truly. The whole operation was set up in these sort of wooden barracks, so basic that the workers apparently nicknamed it, somewhat sarcastically, Vereinigte Hüttenwerke, which translates to something like Hut Works Incorporated.
Hut Works Incorporated. Wow, that says it all, doesn't it? Captures that make-do high-stress feel.
Absolutely. The records say there were about 300 workers there, building these first cars through the really harsh winter of 1948 into 49. And the company itself admitted the conditions were almost unbearable.
Unbearable.
Yeah. Lack of proper machines, materials were incredibly hard to get, the space was tiny. Apparently, people were constantly bumping into each other. Ferry Porsche himself said later, very bluntly, that there was zero profitability in Gmünd.
Zero profit.
The entire point was just to get something built, establish the brand, and survive.
Incredible. But despite all that, they did it. They got cars built. So let's get the basic facts down for this specific model.
Okay. We're talking the Porsche 562 Gmünd Coupe. Production ran from 1948 to 1951, and the numbers were tiny, just 52 cars in total.
Only 52.
Yeah, 44 of those were the coupes and 8 were cabriolets. Yeah. And they all used the 1.1-liter Type 369 flat-4 engine.
Right, the engine. This is where that Porsche resourcefulness really kicks in, isn't it? They couldn't afford to design a whole new engine from scratch. So lots of Volkswagen parts. But not just stock VW bits.
No, definitely not stock. This was really expert tuning right from the start. Volkswagen supplied the core components. The steering, suspension, the transmission, clutch, the basic engine blocks, stuff that was expensive to tool up for. But the genius was in the modifications. They took that standard 25 horsepower VW engine and immediately bored it out, put in larger valves, and designed a totally new cylinder head for much higher compression.
And what did that do for power? What was the result?
Right away, they were getting between 35 and 40 horsepower. Think about that, nearly double the stock VW power. It
Yeah.
completely changed the car's character.
Wow.
And it really established that core Porsche approach, didn't it? Take a solid existing base and just intelligently tune the heck out of it for performance.
And even with those tiny production numbers, they kept refining it. The engine development didn't just stop there.
No, exactly. Later on, they brought in some more refinements, apparently based on some high-output engine ideas they'd worked on during the war. There was a new cylinder head design, sometimes called the Strumboot design.
Strumboot. That sounds like it came off a boat engine or something.
No, not literally. It just means the design philosophy was maybe inspired by engines developed for light attack boats, Sternboot, things that needed to be powerful, reliable, but also lightweight. Anyway, this improved head pushed the power reliably to 40 brake horsepower, and it made peak power about 200 RPM sooner. That helped this little lightweight coupe hit, well, a very respectable 88 miles per hour top speed.
Pretty quick for the time.
Yeah, and they also managed to source Lockheed hydraulic brakes, at least for the front wheels eventually. That was a massive upgrade over the early cable-operated brakes, both for stopping power and safety.
Okay, let's talk looks. Erwin Commenda designed the body. With the engine moved to the back, how did that change the shape compared to that first prototype?
Well, it basically created the iconic early 356 shape that we all recognize now. Moving the engine way back resulted in that characteristic long sloping rear overhang, that beautiful tail that's so different from the shorter front end.
And if someone sees one today, unlikely, but possible, what are the dead giveaways that it's one of these super rare Gmünd cars?
There are a few key things collectors look for. They all have the split windshield, very simple integrated bumpers, these uniquely curved rear quarter windows. Oh, and two little horizontal chrome strips, like accent pieces, between the front indicator lights.
Little details, hallmarks of being hand-built, I suppose.
Exactly.
And that bodywork itself, aluminum, right? And the hutworks, that must have been incredibly slow work.
Oh, extremely. Initially, every single body panel was beaten out by hand from aluminum sheets over wooden bucks. Painstaking work. And they realized pretty quickly that this is just way too slow.
Too slow even for 50 cars.
Yeah. To have any chance of meeting even that small target, they had to start outsourcing the bodywork almost immediately, and also the final finishing.
So Gmünd was making the steel tubs, the core structure, but then they were shipping them out to get the aluminum skin put on. Who were they working with? You mentioned Vienna.
Yeah, they relied on a network of smaller, skilled coach builders in Austria nearby. Firms like Carrosserie Fabrik, Ferdinand Kaibel, Tautra's facility in Vienna was involved, and also Büttler over in Switzerland.
Büttler. Didn't they do the convertibles?
That's right. Crucially, 6 of the chassis were sent specifically to Büttler to get custom cabriolet bodies fitted. It just shows how, right from the start, they needed these outside specialists to offer different versions and just get cars finished.
Okay, this is where the story gets really fascinating for me. The money. You said zero profitability, total scarcity. How on earth did they actually fund this? Starting a car company from scratch then, it needed cash.
Yeah, this was maybe one of the smartest early moves they made, business-wise. The critical seed money, the advance funding for that first batch of 50 cars, came from a Swiss businessman named Ruprecht von Singer.
Von Singer, okay. And it wasn't just a loan, you said. It was strategic.
Absolutely. He wasn't just donating cash. This was a deal. In return for putting up the money, which was a big risk, remember, a brand new car company, post-war, built in a shed.
Yeah, big risk.
Von Singer and his business partner, Bernhard Blank, they secured the exclusive import contract for Switzerland.
Ah, Switzerland. A stable, wealthy market right next door. Very clever.
Very clever. Plus, they didn't just give money. They actively helped Porsche buy the materials they needed, especially sourcing that crucial aluminum sheet, which was like gold dust in Central Europe right after the war. Without Von Singer's money and his help getting supplies, the 3562 probably wouldn't have happened. Simple as that.
Wow. Okay, so the money's there, the outsourcing is happening, cars start trickling out in 1949. How did the world react? What was the market reception?
It was actually excellent. They showed 2 cars at the Geneva Auto Show in March 49. Huge deal. That put Porsche on the international map straight away. The Motor magazine, the British one, was really impressed.
What did they say?
They called it one of the smartest little cars of the show. And they specifically noted the driving position, how incredibly low the floor and the seats were. Gave it a real sports car feel.
So even though it must have been expensive compared to a regular VW Beetle,
Oh, much more expensive.
it sold because it offered something special, performance, handling. That Porsche name already meant something.
Exactly. It sold on Professor Porsche's engineering reputation. And the fact that even though it was pricey, it was still maybe less expensive than some of the established British or Italian sports cars.
Right.
Most of those first 52 cars stayed fairly local, sold in Austria and Switzerland, thanks to von Singer, but they were thinking bigger too. 15 cars went to Sweden, apparently part of a deal with Scania Vabis, the truck maker.
Interesting early export move. But Gmünd, the hut works, despite this initial success, it clearly wasn't sustainable long term. When did they realize they had to leave?
Well, that decision became pretty unavoidable, driven by cold, hard economics. Two main things. First, like we said, the site in Gmünd was just too small. There was literally no room to expand. Even modestly, they were physically constrained.
Maxed out.
Maxed out. And second, maybe even more critical, was the cost of logistics. Think about it. Every engine, every transmission, every axle had to be shipped from Volkswagen in Wolfsburg, Germany, all the way down across the border into Austria. The transport costs and the customs duties were just killing them financially. It was unsustainable.
So the money drain and lack of space forced their hand. They had to get back to Germany.
Yep. They made the tough decision to move back to Stuttgart-Zuffenhausen, even though their old factory, Plant 1, was apparently still partly occupied or controlled by the American forces back then.
So complicated then.
It's still complicated. But a friend of Ferry Porsche's from school, Albert Printing, helped manage that transition. And production started up again with the new steel-bodied 356s in Stuttgart from 1950 onwards. That really began the next chapter.
It really is incredible when you step back and think about what they achieved in Gmünd. Launching a series production sports car, even a tiny series, under those conditions, zero profit, constant scarcity, logistical nightmares, working in wooden sheds. It just speaks volumes about the sheer grit and determination of that small team.
It really does. It's the ultimate example of their founding principles, I think. They absolutely had to innovate, they had to simplify, they had to repurpose things purely out of necessity. There's no other way.
Ferry Porsche summed it up perfectly himself later. He said, and I'm quoting here, "Today I am amazed that we managed to produce so many cars, given all the problems that there were."
Exactly. And that amazement, that sense of overcoming the odds, it leads to a bigger thought, doesn't it, about the legacy of Gmünd. Well, that tough, zero-profit environment forced them into radical efficiency. It forced them to be clever with existing VW parts. So here's something for you to think about. How much did that necessity, the absolute need for simplicity, for efficiency, for lightweight performance, using basic bits back in 1948, how much did that difficult start in Gmünd actually lay the groundwork for the core engineering philosophy, the very DNA that still defines Porsche even today?
That's a really fascinating question. Early hardship forging a lasting identity. Well, thank you for exploring the true birth of Porsche with us. If you enjoyed this look back, check out more of our classic car explorations right here on Vintage Noise. We'll catch you next time.